a sailboat in the moonlight and you. Wouldn't that be heaven? Oh, heaven just for two. A soft breeze on a June night and you. What a perfect setting for letting dreams come true.
These are the tales of Moab.
Nope, we're gonna need another method.
To be perfectly honest, I've never done this before.
I'm gonna try to limp it to that mechanic, babe. The chain just bounced off.
Oh, hold on. My finger's caught.
Tell us about being on YouTube. The whole YouTube thing, it was a plan from the beginning, or was it something that you just came up with as you were traveling with your brothers, Joel, or how did that happen?
It was a plan from the beginning. So we all worked, and the first purchase we bought before we even bought the boat was we bought a laptop and we bought 2 GoPros.
Really?
Right when we got down there, before we even left. So we left from Arizona. In Arizona, we bought the laptop and the GoPros after we quit our job, after we worked the last of our jobs. We had our money saved up, laptop, 2 GoPros, and we started filming right then. And we started filming on our way to Florida to buy the boat. So we always knew we were going to be capturing all of this from day one of the boat.
So all very intentional.
How did you decide that?
How did we decide? It was all part of the plan, and I think it comes from, we used to watch Uma, was probably the main channel, and Della, as far as gaining inspiration.
Did you watch Sailing Bubbles?
I watched it recently.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to watch it back then, though.
Yeah. I think that must encourage a lot of younger people to go out sailing and have an adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Although, yeah, it's kind of a sad ending with Bubbles.
Yeah, true that, yeah.
Yeah, wonderful movie.
Yeah.
Wonderful movie.
So Michael, I want to ask Michael if she sailed before previously as well, because Joel said he hadn't sailed before he got on the boat. But Michael, did you have experience on a sailboat?
No, I sailed like maybe a few hours on a friend's boat on a lake, and that was it. But it's kind of funny because my mom grew up sailing, racing sailboats. That's what her family did. She grew up in Portland. So my grandfather has owned sailboats his whole life. Like, that's what he's passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
Now he has a trawler. He and his partner cruise up to Canada and down every summer. So it's kind of in my background, but I've never had any experience.
Yeah.
Just in your blood.
In my blood, yeah.
Yeah.
So who does the editing and who does the filming, or you both share your?
It's been an evolving process. I've always done all the editing, but what we recently started doing is I'll go through it and then I'll let Michael make some cuts and kind of go through it.
Yeah.
So she's like the editor.
So we both
for my editing.
film, but it's up to Joel to kind of put it together initially.
So
and then I might come through and say we could cut more here, or what if we switch these scenes around. But he's like the creative genius, and I consider myself the business manager. I do emails and stuff like that.
Correspondence. She does very important things, like our website takes a lot of work. That used to really stress me out trying to work on the website.
Yeah.
I'd spend all day, and then I would make things worse, and I feel like I wasted my time. It wasn't a passion of mine.
Yeah, it's frustrating sometimes.
Huge learning curve, like that. Everything online, major learning curve. Everything to do with the boat, major learning curve. So I feel like we're starting to get a little something figured out, but it's more just realizing how much we still have yet to learn.
Yeah. And it's great watching that. I mean, it all makes for good content, doesn't it?
I think so. I think that's
learning
by doing.
Chris and I were filming something yesterday, and actually we were filming that little sailboat that we got because it was underneath a tree. So we tied a rope around it on a trailer without a license plate and drove to the car wash. And I was a little paranoid saying, I don't think this is safe. And what if the police see us? You know, and Chris is like, yeah, we're fine. But I filmed it all because it's just, that's all you do, right? Is film. And I said to him, sometimes I think that we miss out on the moment because we're filming and worried about documenting it. And I just wonder sometimes if we miss out on a little bit because of that. Any thoughts?
I feel that way too.
Oh, do you? Oh.
Yeah. I'll just speak to this quickly and then Joel can jump in. Before I joined him on the boat, I kind of went through like a whole social media rebellion. Like I didn't have a phone for most of the year. Like I just like wanted to do without that because I felt like it was distracting from my attention if I was so focused on capturing something in order to share it with others or in order to watch a video or look at pictures later. I was missing out on being present in my life.
Yeah.
So I do have a little bit of conflict with that, especially now as we're attempting to be like really active on social media and we're capturing everything. But I think we have found a balance where we used to film, like carry a camera, ready to film everything at any point in our day. And now we've scaled that back and we're a lot more focused with our filming. And it takes a lot less of our time and focus.
So you actually have film days that you...
Yeah, we learned that. So we just recently met Sailing GBU, Sailing Good, Bad, and Ugly.
Yep.
And they're a newer channel, I think only a little over a year, but they've got like well over 30,000 subscribers.
Wow.
They're doing really well. So we met them and we learned a few things from them. And one of them was that we changed our style a bit as far as we used to just have a camera all the time and just film everything. And then I would sit down and try to make sense of it all and try to make an episode. And it was so time consuming.
Yeah, Chris talks about that a lot.
And so what they do, they actually write things down and they come up with an idea ahead of time. And then they film. It's a lot more intentional. And it's usually always thinking about a viewer and what they might find valuable. But the other thing they're really good at is being natural and being real. I've noticed that when I watch them on YouTube, they're exactly as they are in real life. They're really good at that. So there's two things, but the intentional filming and thinking ahead, okay, what possibly might the title of this episode be? What might the thumbnail be before you just start turning a camera on? Yeah. It helps so much in the filming. It helps so much in editing. It saves so much of your time. And it's like editing is so much easier and quicker. And then you get a better product at the end of it. Yeah. You're like, wow, this has more direction. So
you're a little more focused when you go in.
Exactly.
Think ahead.
Yeah, we think it makes the videos a lot better because there's more of a storyline there. We try to have a beginning, a middle, and end, and kind of one idea rather than a whole bunch of things.
Yeah.
What's your guys' approach? I mean, how do you guys go about the filming and editing process?
Yeah, we're pretty intentional. I like to tell a story, so sometimes you get lucky and a story falls in your lap while you're filming, but usually it's like we're going to go to this place and we're going to film what we do in this place, and then we're going to leave that place, and that's the story. And we try to capture enough B-roll that we've got some transitional stuff, and I like to play around with editing. I like to edit pretty heavily when we're doing it. But,
what do you use for editing?
We're using a software called Movavi. And Movavi, M-O-V-A-V-I, I think it's spelled. And I've got DaVinci Resolve, which I'm just learning right now. I've got the Adobe suite, but this Movavi is so intuitive and so simple, that 90% of the bells and whistles on DaVinci Resolve and the Adobe suite are kind of useless to a tuber, really,
Yeah,
Like,
there's so much functionality there, or like features. There's a lot.
yeah, it's just too much to. I got an older brain than you guys, so it's a little.
And even when we started using Premiere Pro, Joel sat down for like 3 weeks and was watching YouTube videos and studying and just trying to learn so much about it. It was crazy.
Yeah, yeah. What kind of cameras are you using now then?
We have a Sony 53
AX53 is a camcorder.
AX53
Oh yeah.
And GoPros.
and a GoPro 7, a Hero 7.
Yeah. So what are you using for audio then? Are you using microphones at all, or?
We finally, I'll show you. So we finally just fixed it too. But we have a Rode mic with a dead cat.
The dead cat windscreen.
The dead gato, which I thought.
And that's what they're actually called, folks. So it's not really a dead cat.
It looks like one though.
It looks
So
like.
This is it.
Yeah, we've got the same one, exactly the same. Yeah.
And you have the same microphone too?
Yeah. Well, no, we have the microphone, not the.
Not the
Oh,
camera.
not the camera.
Yeah.
So what we found up until and then this is our GoPro, and we got this sleeve which made a huge difference in sound. Super cheap. It's just a foam covering that you put over it,
Okay.
and it really helps with the sound, and it's
Yeah.
really cheap. But we found that the GoPro was getting better sound than this camera here. We couldn't figure out what it was, but it would pick up the wind and the noise, and you would just have to edit the noise because you could hear the.
Yeah, yeah.
And we figured out that you have to go into the manual settings of the camera, the audio settings, and you had to turn it way down because when you hook an external mic on, the settings in the mic were made to amplify the sound.
Sure.
So we just made a huge discovery
Wow.
going to help our sound, which
Are you talking now about the dead cat or just the
Now they're
cover over
using the Rode mic, and the Rode mic's so much more sensitive that they have to back off the settings within the camera.
Oh.
and it's more a problem with the camera itself.
Yeah.
It's a specific to the camera, but this specific camera, if you leave it on auto, it's going to be really loud.
Yeah.
You have to go to manual and turn it down when you hook a mic like this up, because we spent a lot of money on the mic, and then we realized the sound was worse than it used to be.
We're so
And we
frustrated.
were just like, I don't know.
Darn.
We got that figured out.
Yeah, it's hard to know where to spend your money because there's just no end to what you can throw cash at in this game, you know?
No doubt.
Like video stuff. I've got cases of gear that I bought, you know, online and stuff, like used stuff, and we've really narrowed it down to sort of three cameras for 3 different applications, you know, and
what are those cameras that you're using?
I've got an old GoPro 4 with a Sennheiser mic on it.
Okay.
So it's a waterproof case, but it's got a waterproof mic on the outside of it. So it's got like really, really good quality sound. And then I've got a newer 7, GoPro 7. And I use it for more time-lapse stuff and trickier things because the screen is really nice to use. But the sound kind of sucks on that, you know? And then we've got a Canon 70D that we use for high-res stuff. So it's like a full-size DSLR. And I've got a.
We use that for our stop motion, the opening scenes in our
Yeah.
show.
I love the music.
Yeah.
By the way, that song got stuck in my head the first time I watched it.
And we came across them, and actually we paid them to use their music.
Okay.
Cool.
What's it? Orchestra.
It's the.
Oh my gosh, that's awful. Shoot. Old brains.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, we'll put a link to that down below.
Yeah.
But,
Their other music is really good,
yeah.
and we have a Sony.
Yeah, yeah. We've got a Sony NEX-F3. And oh, by the way, if you want a cheap sleeper camera, that's fantastic for vlogging. You can buy these things for like $100, $150 on Craigslist. It's called an NEX-F3. NEX-F3. Nickel Echo Xylophone. Or X-ray, okay? NEX-F3, and it's from Sony, and
Okay.
they're a really high quality camera, and you can
And
buy
cheap.
them online for cheap, yeah. And they've got the flip up screen, you know, so if you're looking at yourself, Yeah.
Yeah.
That's our go-to camera mostly. Is
Yeah, that's the one we grab and run with for sure. Yeah, a lot.
light, not very big. Like the Canon is huge. It's like wearing a stone around your neck. You know, if you're walking anywhere, it's heavy.
Right.
Yeah.
We are looking to up our camera game a bit, so thanks for that tip. I'll be looking into it.
Yeah, I've just about seen them every time I've gone online. Like locally here, we've got Kijiji, and then there's a bunch of resale sites in the U.S. as well, and there's always one there, always. So I had a question about you guys do that thing at the start of your videos where there's an older woman and she says, "These are the tales of Boab." Who is she, and what's the story about that?
So her name is Joyce, and she's 83 now.
84.
Wow.
84. She did okay, so she just had a birthday.
She's the matriarch of the whole Bums journey. They met her in the very beginning when they first arrived in Florida.
Yeah. Well, I got to talk about. So I worked in the golf industry. I was a caddy, and it starts here. And I caddied for a guy. So there was this girl that was there. She was with him, and she was just walking. And she's like, "I'm from Florida." And I told her, "Well, I'm gonna be in Florida. My friends and I are gonna go buy a boat." She said, "Here's my number. When you're there, if you need a place to stay, let me know." And then I never saw her for over a year.
Yeah.
So we're on our way to Florida. We're looking couch surfing. We're looking at ideas where we can stay. And I send her a message. She responds back and says, "Yes, I remember you. You can stay here." So we're like, "Wow, that's amazing." We show up, and she's like, I have a really small place. You're going to be sleeping on the floor. But my neighbor, who's Joyce, she said you can stay in her guest house on the lake. It's a beautiful place. So we never knew Joyce. We never had met her. She let all three of us bums, and we walked in with cut-off shorts, beards, and hair. And she was so accommodating. And she fed us breakfast. She fed us dinner. She insisted that we did not pay her. And we were able to shop for the boat and then go back and have a nice, awesome place to stay. And then we got to know her over the years, and we've been we see her every time we go back to the States. We make a point to go to Florida to say hi to Joyce. And it's like, she's amazing.
She's a world traveler herself. Like, she's been everywhere. She has amazing stories. She's just
amazing stories.
Yeah.
There are a lot of wonderful people in the world, isn't there?
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, she changed her life. I mean, she's the reason why we include her in every episode is I feel like that was a really big a fork in the road. It could have went any way, and I think Joyce, being the way that she was, it just led us down a path that, and it never stopped from there. And so she's always been a part of this Bums on a Boat journey.
Right on.
A shout out to Joyce.
Yeah.
Joyce,
A legend.
love you, Joyce.
Great meeting people like that.
So she did this for you.
Yeah. It was a big fork in the road, and she was just really awesome, and she was just so much about her.
Yeah.
At that phase in our life, we were testing people out, I guess. We were really, really going far on the don't worry about your appearances. It was a phase. I think we've kind of turned a corner.
But her and Joel are also like kindred spirits. I think they might have been lovers in a former life. Like, their connection is really special. It's kind of amazing. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Well, listen, guys, we've learned some really great things about you, and we want to say that we think you should change the name of your show to Stars on a Boat or something like that.
I don't think so. I love Bums on a Boat.
Because you're fantastic. We really like the two of you, and we've really had a good time. So,
Thank you so much.
We really
enjoyed
appreciate
this.